And welcome back to Daily Wrap. I'm Joe Concha, joined by my co-host Rick Unger, and filling out the panel, Hanson Hirschfeld. Okay, business groups are slamming the president's new plan to make more Americans eligible for overtime pay. Under current labor laws, workers with an annual salary of just under $24,000 must be paid overtime if they work more than a 40-hour work week. The president's plan more than doubles that salary threshold to just over $50,000. Business groups are calling this a job killer. Here's what the National Retail Federation had to say, and we quote, "The proposal is going to cost billions of dollars. It's going to limit advancement opportunities, and ultimately it will reduce employee benefits." This change is another example of the administration being completely divorced from reality and adding more burdens to employers and expecting them to just absorb the impact. That's from Randy Johnson of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. So, overtime pay, a good idea in these situations? I know you're for raising the minimum salary, Mr. Unger.
You know,
does this go too far?
No, because what people forget is before the era of public companies, everybody got overtime pay. It didn't matter because people who were making $25,000, $30,000, $35,000 a year weren't on salaries or the equivalent at that time. They were almost all hourly employees, and they got overtime when they worked more than a 40-hour week. As the shift went to making sure the money all got to the shareholders instead of the people who work in the company, that was one of the tricks. We'll put you on salary, so then we don't have to pay you overtime. So we're not doing something new here, folks. We are going back to the way that it was when things were a bit more fair. And just so you know, the president has the power to do this without Congress.
Yeah, there's nothing the Congress can do.
Nothing anybody can do.
That's true, but you were nodding
where's the money supposed to come from?
The money's going to come from shareholders.
But Rick, not every company has the money to be paying people. What's going to happen is more and more of these employees are going to become part-time, because between this and Obamacare, and then we're going to have a whole lot of people who have part-time jobs and aren't able to support their families.
I hear you. I do hear you, but let me ask you the question. Do you think it's fair that people aren't paid overtime? Given our own history.
I think it depends on the situation. I think it depends on the situation.
Okay,
I think that there are some people, I think that this rule, it really just creates more regulations for companies. I think companies should be doing the right thing.
Some people's pockets. It's not just regulations.
And takes
it's real
money from others.
But you got to go back to my question. If you agree there are situations,
sure,
without knowing which ones, that where people should, because they deserve overtime, then why shouldn't they get it? Why is it always the worker who has to suffer?
But for the
all
most
of these
part,
companies have great
do the
profits.
Right thing.
No,
for the most
actually,
part,
they
companies
don't.
do the right thing. They do,
and
the market will stop the situations when they're not treating their employees correctly.
But you agree they should be getting overtime?
Absolutely, there are situations where they should.
Let's get Brad in. Does this include private companies or just public companies?
No, this will include private companies.
Because you mentioned shareholders.
No.
So
Well,
that's
where it started to change. So Rick's point is well taken.
Okay.
I think what we have to admit is here, both the people who say it'll kill jobs and destroy the economy, and the people who say it'll send more dollars back into the economy, because we should be clear, the people who make these dollars tend to spend those dollars. So we don't really know, because there's real evidence on both sides. It's like the minimum wage, and you could make a case that actually since this floor, this sort of ceiling rather, was established last time in 2004, it's been a long time. So I want to make a proposal and see what the two of you think about it. I actually think I am in favor of raising this threshold. It seems to make sense, although I am concerned about adding legislation. That's a separate issue. It's not the economics. It's too much government, I think. But that said, what if we also, along with raising the ceiling, raise the floor? The average American works 49.5 hours a week. Maybe we should raise the threshold to 50,000, but maybe it should only kick in after 45 hours a week. 45 hours a week. In other words, let's understand that there has been a 400% increase in productivity in the last 40 years in this country. The 40-hour work week, for better or for worse, is gone. Maybe it should come back, but it's over for most of us. When's the last many of us worked 40 hours?
Heather worked 90 this week.
Right. That's a slow week for her.
Heather worked 90 yesterday.
Right, I was going to say.
We're only at Tuesday.
So maybe we should think about raising the ceiling, but not without raising the floor.
That's actually an interesting proposal.
Yeah.
I'm just
get the president on the phone.
Yeah, I got
tell him this.
I got the bad phone. But speaking of the president, I read an article today that said that last week was his best week.
Yeah.
That he had a lot of wins, and we talked about legacy, and he's going to have to get the trade agreement, and that looks like it's dead, and Obamacare can go away, and all these things, and now his approval rating is actually over 50%.
Yeah.
So do you think this was pre-planned a while ago, or do you think he came out today and say, I got got a lot of capital right now,
Well, he
momentum
didn't,
at least.
he didn't just think of this
No,
yesterday.
no, no, I'm not saying that, but the announcement seems
Yeah.
at a time where
It's
he's
time for
seen
when
in a
he's
better
strong.
light by some folks
Sure.
right now.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah, I think that
Look,
that's-
this president is doing something we've never seen in history. He is showing that a lame duck president can actually use his lame duckness to his advantage. We've never seen this before.
We've
It's
never
remarkable.
heard the word duckness?
Duckness.
Duckness. I like it. It's good. I
haven't heard that before either.
It's also outside the legislative process, which is one of the things people really
Right.
resist most. So it's one of those things, you can make the most of a good thing, you can also make the most of a bad thing. He may end up with a strong legacy. Whether or not it's always good for the country, that's going to get decided down the road.
That's the thing, Heather. He's getting wins on the trade agreement that we don't know anything about,
Right,
that
right,
Democrats and unions hate, right? And then Obamacare still remains to be seen if that's going to be something that could be called a success or something that may have
Well,
ended.
I think some of the positive feedback that he's getting and the positive polling is just simply because the Supreme Court agreed with him. Whether or not he had anything to do, like gay marriage, he had nothing to
did
do with
nothing
that, and in fact, he didn't even support it to start with. So I think that it's just, we'll see a dip again.
But there were a lot of other things that have happened over these past 15 days
trade
that
agreement,
he
for
does
sure,
have, you know,
yeah.
and Obamacare. But you're right, he's going to get the benefit of gay marriage, but he didn't really do anything about it. No, this president, he's doing things now I never thought were possible, frankly. Not just in terms of what he's accomplishing, but in terms of when he's accomplishing it. It's
Yeah.
remarkable.
I thought 2014 when they lost the Senate, and he
yeah.
said, "What the heck? Wait, how can he get anything done?" And granted, he's just getting things done on his own. That some people don't like
He's
that
6
much.
months away from his last year.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be off planning his library by now.
Does Hillary campaign?
Well,
for
he's
it?
still playing golf.
He still likes the golf.
Okay, we'll talk about that another time. Anyway, what do you think about the president's plan to double overtime pay? Let us know. Go to newsmax.com/comments. Back with more in a moment.